we would hate to be in a position where we've got to cut essential personnel, fire, police, because, and hope that because we're in pretty much crime-free areas that it's going to be okay and we'll get lucky and it'll be right. We shouldn't take that kind of risk. We shouldn't be put in that kind of position. This money that should be coming back to us that the state collects was always designed to go into the municipalities. Is why we agreed to being taxed in the first place. The state, if you will, is the collecting agent for monies that are supposed to come back to the villages. And if you would imagine, for instance, having a small store or any business in town where you collect sales tax, and that sales tax money was never yours, it was supposed to go back to the state. This is the same thing. This money was never theirs to take away or to be negotiated with, that now we'll chop you from 10% down to 6% or possibly take it all. It was never theirs to begin with. And one of our problems here is that, and hopefully with this showing of mayors and this support, we can get that message out there to the people who, just like me, just an average citizen of Linwood, do vote and can affect these things once we become aware of what's happening. With that, thank you very much.
And we have Eugene Munin from the Chicago.
Yes.
Eugene Munin. I am not the mayor of the city of Chicago, but I am the budget director. Everybody up here has suffered as a result of the recession. The city of Chicago has lost $1 billion in revenue over the last 3 years. We have attacked that by balancing our budget and reducing expenses. We've done that by not hiring police officers. Now we have about 1,200 vacant police officer positions in our budget. We have not hired many other employees. All of our non-represented, non-union represented employees are taking a 10% cut in pay. All of our laborers and trades unions people are taking a cut in pay. That's how we balanced our budget. We get about $20 million a month from the income tax, about $240, $250 million a year. And make no mistake about it, if these cuts that Springfield is contemplating go through, or if our LGDF payments are held hostage while this debt plan gets discussed down there, it will result in a further decrease in the number of police officers on the street. There's no other way to balance our budget. And reduce police officers or reduce other services are just not acceptable. So please, stop the blackmail and the extortion. Give us the money that is owed to us and allow us to operate our government and provide the services that we need to our citizens. Thank you.
And we have Larry Hartwig. Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Hartwig, H-A-R-T-W-I-G, Mayor of the Village of Addison. I also happen to be serving right now as Chairman of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus's Executive Board. And just a little bit of perspective from a suburban standpoint, we just heard the 800-pound gorilla in the room, the city of Chicago. But Addison, town of 37,000, we're down 24 full-time employees. We didn't have people sitting around doing nothing. These 24 full-time employees were providing service to our people. Police service, public works service, and so forth. We've cut that down. Any further cut is going to be further cuts in service. We provide service. That's what government is. I'm here representing the people of our community. I think one of the mistakes that oftentimes the legislature makes is they kind of view us as a vendor. Okay, we have to make some cuts with all of our vendors. We're going to have to cut a little here, cut a little bit there. No, we're not a vendor. We're representing people. And that's what we're here for, not as mayors running a company trying to produce a profit. We're here as mayors representing people, providing services that these people expect. And so it really is disingenuous for the legislature to all of a sudden say, we've raised the income tax 66%. Now, that's not enough money. So now we have to raise more revenue. Now, when you raise revenue, that's taxes. That's what it is. So they're going to raise revenue by taking this money from the people. This 10% that was promised, that has been worked, it's been in place since 1969, that's how local governments, that's how we fund services. And it's important to remember that. Now remember, we usually are talking, the general thought in the state is that we fund education too much through property taxes. That in general, we say that maybe we should be moving from property tax to more income tax. Well, what are they doing here? They're saying, let's take the income tax away, and so where are we left? To go to property tax? I mean, it's kind of a silly suggestion to even talk about reducing this amount of money. So it is going to make a difference if it goes through. I believe that our legislatures need to have an adjustment in their thinking that this is a tax increase. It's a stealth tax, whatever you want to call it, but it is a tax increase because they are increasing revenue. Whenever you increase revenue, you increase taxes. So we're calling upon them to lay off of this, to look at balancing their budget, utilizing the revenue they already increased 66%, and balance their budget. So that's our call to the legislature, and I thank you for being here, and I know that we'll answer any questions.
This, as you would imagine, this is not a shy group, so if you have questions, I'll try to point out who might be able to answer that. So, questions?
The governor's office has since said that this wouldn't necessarily be a cut, but they would withhold the money, and eventually it would get back to you guys. Is that more acceptable, or is that just as bad?
A delay.
We've already been delayed 3 to 6 months.
Unacceptable. We are already delayed 4 to 6 months at this point in time. And any delay to that, we have, you know, that's an open-ended deal.
Well, that costs the villages.
Can you go to the mic? You have to go. They're picking up
And you
the sound.
and identify yourself.
Well, explain the delay too first before we get to that. You could-
Name first and last.
Bob Aboud, Village of Barrington Hills,
Last
the village
spell your
president,
last name.
ABVOUD. When the income tax is collected, the state has a schedule in which they are to then take, now it's only 6% of that income tax. It's to be delivered directly back to the municipalities, all of the governments that you see represented here, as well as downstate governments. They have a schedule in which to do that. We have an expectation when we lay out our budgets because we have salaries to pay, we have roads to fix, we gotta put gasoline in police cars. And so there's a schedule by which we have to operate and we have a budget that we have to operate on. When they delay that, I still have gasoline that I have to put in police cars. So I don't get the choice of saying, well, you know, today we just won't buy gasoline. We just won't fix roads. We just won't put our fires. We still have to acquire that money. In many cases, we either have to dip into reserves, which affects the performance, the asset performance of our reserves, or in some cases, we have to go out and borrow this money. So we're now paying interest on this money, real interest, not the situation with the state has, which essentially they are borrowing money from us, the public, with a 0% interest rate. That's what they're doing when they're holding that. And the last time I went to the bank, I didn't get the 0% interest rate deal. That's where the real problem is with them delaying.
So eventually, I mean, it's costing you more money.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And when you
It's a
say you,
pass-through.
it costs us. It costs us as the public. Because that's who's all being represented here. Certainly, these are all executive officers of their various governments. But their job is to represent the local public. Thank you.
But the governor is saying, yes, he understands there will be more pain, but he's saying in these times, there is going to be more pain, and it has to be spread around.
Well, our contention is we have already suffered the pain. We addressed that immediately as revenues began to fall, and I think the various mayors you heard here have talked about the cutbacks and the layoffs and all kinds of work that they've done to balance their budget. So we started immediately into those issues.
Would anyone
So
like
what-
to suggest what the
Yeah.
state could do to avoid cutting you?
Look at,
Nate?
I'm sorry, Mayor Jerry Bennett, Jerry Bennett, Bennett, Mayor Palos Hills for the last 30 years, and I must say, people that know me in this room, I'm gonna speak to you plain truth.